Hello, and welcome to 60 Seconds with your host, Ben Bastine, which is me. Today, we'll be exploring the issue of school authority. The first case we'll be exploring is Giles vs. Marino. In this case, a student wore a shirt depicting scenes of drugs and violence. Here's Seth with a more detailed interpretation.
Giles vs. Marino is a typical case of school authority. A young man in middle school wore an inappropriate t-shirt depicting drugs and alcohol and then President George Bush for several days in a row. A student complained, and the faculty asked him to remove it or flip it inside out as per the school's policy.
And what did the student do when he was asked to flip his shirt inside out?
He refused and was asked to go home, which I think is a good idea, as it was massively inappropriate.
Massively inappropriate? Well, what did he do later?
The student's parents sued the board to have the referral expunged from his personal record and to force the school not to enforce its dress policy on him, in reference to his First and 14th Amendment rights. The district court then ruled that the school was in its rights to ask him to leave, referring the previous Bethel School District number 403 v. Frazier case, where a student was doing massively inappropriate things and was sent home, as this shirt was plainly offensive and inappropriate. The parents appealed and then sent the case to the appeals court, and the appeals court went on their side, as in their opinion the shirt had already been worn for several days without being considered offensive, and the offensive shirt, the offensive part of the shirt was an image of George Bush doing drugs and alcohol, and that would only further the political message and did not promote either of them.
As an expert on this case, what do you personally believe?
I found myself at odds with this appeals case conclusion, as a political statement, the t-shirt may have shown his opinions, but it was wildly inappropriate and offensive and had been complained about by another student. I feel the school was completely within its rights, since First Amendment does not allow for speech that is considered offensive or would incite violence or bad feeling. And the schools had given the student several options before they asked him to go home.
Well, with that said, can you understand the parents' point of view?
I can understand the parents' need to complain, as their student was sent home, and nobody likes to hear that their student has been doing bad things. But really, I don't think there would be any reason for him to wear a shirt like that to school, other than to promote an argument. And I feel that even though they might have had the motivation to sue, they were not in the right.
And now, on the other side of the argument, we have Miss Giles to give her insight. Well, ma'am, what's your take?
My son has his constitutional rights, and they were obviously violated.
Well, how was the Constitution violated in this case?
His freedom of expression was obviously violated, and that's the First Amendment.
Well, ma'am, it was nice having you on.
It was my pleasure.
And now, we'll be exploring another type of school authority. For this case, Grutter versus Bollinger, the issue of affirmative action is in question. Here with me is John Stevens. He's an expert on the case. So, John, can you tell me what happened?
Well, Ben, in the case Grutter versus Bollinger, a girl named Barbara Grutter was a student at the University of Michigan. She applied to the law school, but was denied on the grounds that the school needed a more diverse demographic.
So, John, how does this apply to school authority?
Well, Ben, This case brings up the question, does the school have the authority to not accept a student like Barbara into the law school program based on her race?
And how does this apply to our constitutional rights?
Well, Ben, this kind of a case brings up the 14th Amendment and the equal protection of the law.
So, John, what is your opinion on this matter?
Well, Ben, I personally don't have a very strong opinion about this case. However, I do know the two arguments for this case. One is for affirmative action against Barbara Grutter. So strong advocates for affirmative action believe that it helps create diversity in a workplace or a school, like in this case. And the argument against affirmative action is that affirmative action is a form of indirect racism, like basically saying we are only accepting you into this school or we're only hiring you for this job because of your skin color. So, yes.
And that concludes this week's 60 Seconds presentation on school authority. Now to you, Wyatt.